Hi, good morning, and welcome to our meditation on grace. Today is the 26th of February. We are going to read again in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14. So that we may no longer be children tossed to and fro and blown about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness in deceitful scheming. We are talking about here about the fullness of Christ, the maturity that we need to achieve in order to walk with Jesus and not listen to every wind of doctrine. So we talked about the children, we talked about the waves, we talked about the deceitful scheming, and I would like to talk about doctrine today. We're going to hear what Paul, John, and Peter have to say about it. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13 to 15. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no great surprise if his servants too disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will be according to their works. So here, Paul is talking about the false apostle or the false apostles that will come to deceive people. And they'll be disguised themselves as apostles of Christ, of course. It's not a surprise, says Paul, because even Satan disguised himself as an angel of light. So if Satan can appear as an angel of light, these people will appear as apostles of Christ. And they even call themselves servants of God's righteousness. They don't know God's righteousness. They don't know God's grace, because God's grace will transform them in apostles of Christ, real ones. Not these ones that come just to deceive people. So it is important for you to know the fullness of Christ, to know maturity in Christ, so you'll be able to understand that not everything that you hear in the radio, or if you watch on YouTube or you read in Facebook, not everything comes from Christ. But you need discernment for that. What John has to say about it. First John chapter 4, verse 1. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to find out whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. Not just apostles, but also false prophets, people who come in the name, proclaiming, being representing the Christ and speaking for the Christ, but they are just false prophets. So we need to have the ability to discern that these spirits, they are not from God. But how can you do it if you haven't got the maturity of Christ? You need the fullness of Christ in your life in order to face these false prophets and to understand that they don't come from God. 2 Peter 2, 1 to 3. But there were also false prophets among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you, not just apostles, prophets, but also teachers, who will bring in destructive heresies, even denying the master who bought them, even denying the Lord, bringing on themselves swift destruction. Many will follow their immoral lifestyle, and because of them, the way of truth will be maligned. And in their greed, they will exploit you with their fabricated stories. Their condemnation has not from ancient times been idle, nor has their destruction been sleeping. So here there is a seduction involved. That's why many will follow false masters, false teachers, or false doctors, if you want. We're talking about doctrine, because there is this, like the snake, in the garden. There's this deceit, but also there's a sexual appeal here, an immoral lifestyle that will attract people, Because when we don't know Christ, when we really don't know Christ, we'll follow false prophets and false teachings. What has Jesus himself to say about it in Matthew chapter 7, 15 to 20? Beware of false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. By their fruits we will know them. Do people gather grapes from thorny bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the unhealthy tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can an unhealthy tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits, you will know them. I have got 2 apple trees in my garden, as I say nearly every day. And one of them is a little tree, apple tree that I bought in Spain, because we live near Spain and it's cheaper to buy apple trees in Spain. And it has bared twice big apples. It's a very little apple tree, very young apple tree. How do we know it is a good apple tree? Because it's bearing fruit. That's how you know if a person is a teacher coming from the Lord or not. Is there agape in his life? Love? God's love? Is this person a person that speaks up for the Lord? Is there words of grace coming out of their lips? Fruits. But in order to understand that, to see, to discern that a prophet is from the Lord, you need Christ's maturity in your life. God bless you.